You hear the song in the background? You hear the music?
The Conversation Motivational Hour with your host, Minister Seon Rodney. The Conversation. Thank you for watching the Conversation Motivational Hour. We love you and cannot wait to see you in person.
All right. Good night, everyone. Good night. Welcome to the Conversation Motivational Hour with your host, Minister Seon Gregory Gomes Rodney, your orator for tonight. I have with me two distinguished men. With me tonight in the person of Minister Cleveland Marley Quinn, aka DJ Quinn, and I have with me the Honorable Austin Thompson with me tonight, and we are men of the cloth. And just to give a background of us as men tonight, we all are Guyanese. So me, I am born in Georgetown. From New Amsterdam and grew up in Liverpool. So I normally says I am a Georgetownian, New Amsterdami, and Liverpoolian. And I know Minister Cleveland, aka DJ Quinn, is from the west coast of Berbice, has a stint in Linden, and many more around Guyana. And when I come to the Honorable Austin Thompson, he's going to tell you more of where in Guyana from and all about his experiences and so on, and his journey in life.
Hey, turn on.
Once again, welcome to the Conversation Motivational Hour with your host, Minister Seon Gregory Gomes Rodney. I'm happy to let you know that you're gliding alongside me tonight with two distinguished men. Nevertheless, I want to tell you why you at the table at the conversation, why your name is on the menu board. Because the conversation, my two guests tonight, is always cater for the less fortunate. It always cater for the broken. It always cater for the undervalued. It always cater for the rejected. It always cater for those who feel that they're underachiever. It always cater for those who suffer from low self-esteem. The conversation here, we are the serenity, we cater for the brother and sisterhood. We work in tandem with each other, hands in gloves. And the conversation with your host, SGGR, in abbreviation for Seon Gregory Gomes Rodney. Once again, tonight, I thank you for letting me into your personal space, but I have two company with me that come into your personal space where you're under the bridge, you're wherever you are, you're in the gutters, you're in the trenches, we are right there with you tonight. You are broken, you are less fortunate, you're financially embarrassed, you're strapped with cash, we are there with you. You're suffering from low self-esteem, we are right there with you. You are rejected, we are right there with you. Your cupboard is empty, we are right there with you. Your wardrobe is empty, we are right there with you. You don't want to sleep tonight because you're afraid that you'll not wake up in the morning. We are right there with you. And tonight, we thank you for letting us into your personal space. And I want to guarantee you, before this podcast is over, you will download some concepts. You will break down some guardrails. You will change some narrative. Your lexicon will be richer than when you went into this podcast tonight. Because I have men with me tonight. We have different skill set, different understanding, different upbringing, different exposure, different experience, different training, different skill set. And nevertheless, we're going to bring it to the fore tonight. We are men that are with a complementary understanding. And that we're going to do tonight, we're going to complement each other. With that being said, once again, welcome Minister Cleveland, a.k.a. DJ Ali Quinn. I'm not hearing your mic like it's mute.
Your mic is muted, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity, man. It's a pleasure to see you and to be with you on this live.
And once again, welcome Honorable Councilman of Lawrenceville or Council State 3.
Yes.
Welcome.
Post 3, City Council of Lawrenceville, Post 3. Yes, sir.
Yes, the city of Lawrenceville, Post 3. Once again, I have a great relationship with these two honorable gentlemen, and I will give you a little understanding of our journey, and then we get into different things that we're going to talk about tonight. Minister Cleveland Marley Quinn, I have met him as one of the congregant of Sanctuary's Presence when I came to Sanctuary's Presence, and we become friends and become a kind of mentor to me in giving me a little insight of what it need to become a chaplain also. So I went and I become a chaplain with trusting his prompting and leadings, and I never regret for giving me the opportunity to think what is it to become a chaplain, what it means to be a chaplain and to be involved in society and so on as a chaplain. So becoming a chaplain, one of the person was instrumental is aka DJ Quinn, Minister Cleveland Harley Quinn. Then I get to join the Guyana Association of Georgia, being led by a conversation from myself and the same DJ Quinn, and many more conversation we had together. And I remember when I want to get into this aspect of motivational speaking and the podcast and all these things, and I'm not a technical guy, I'm not technical savvy, and I reach out to him when I start in my car, and he hold my little pinky finger and lead me along. So Minister Cleveland Harley Quinn, aka Quinn, thank you for for the little role that you play into my life, and I'm forever grateful, and I'm sincerely humbled that I will always remember what you have done in my life. The Honorable Councilman Austin Thompson, I have met him at the Guyana Association of Georgia one time. He joined the backbenchers. I was always on the backbench crew. And and from one conversation, we draw a liking to each other. And from that moment, he take me and he mentor me under his wings. And I remember when I was asked to be the youth chair of the Guyana Association, the first person I turned to is Austin Thompson. He didn't reject me. He mentored me along with public speaking and sharpened me more how to be a leader for the millennials, because I have a lot of leadership experience, but more in the gospel fraternity, in the church, youth leader and youth director and so on. But here I am, I have a charge in a non-profit organization. Everybody is not Christian. I need another mentorship to know to deal with, because you cannot bring the church into that sphere. And I want to thank Austin Thompson for taking me under his wings, because he was once the president of the Guyana Association and so on. And one of his baby, but he instituted the Guyana Association of Georgia. You mentor me how to spear that, edit that event, and thanks for all that you have done in my life. I'm forever grateful. And in turn, you look, when you hit off your campaign, the first person you choose, you have big names you could have called to do the invocation, you turned to me, and I did it with honors. And I want to thank the Most High God that He allowed me. I'm not a prophet, but to prophesy and to make a declaration. The next time we meet, you will be the councilman. And also remember, on the morning of the election, something proved me to call you while my gloves is on my hand, and declare that you're going to be the winner. And here you are, the successful winner of Lawrenceville Council 3. And I know under your leadership that you're going to do well, you're going to do great, and I know that you will not park at your last accomplishment, because I am one of your mentee, and people see some of the fruits of what I'm doing without knowing the mentor. You are one of those, and I want to thank you so much, more so helping me to deal with the youths and to deal with nonprofit organization and youths who don't know God, because it's a challenge when you are sold out one way and dealing with another sphere, and to bring that balance. With that being said, tonight you will get an understanding of our relationship, our journey. So we are not new to each other. We all have experiences, we all have camaraderie, we all work with each other. We had laughter moments and so on and so forth and such like. We're not all serious men. We have sense of humor, all of us. All right. With that being said, Minister Cleve, you want to tell the audience a little bit of where you came from, and take it from there.
You really have the time, because I can spend all night on my journey, man. I tell you, people see, people know your story, but they don't know your journey, and so
Yes, well, you know, somebody is going to learn something tonight.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
never seen a tree, councilman, eat his own fruit, but I've
yeah,
seen people eat the fruit of the tree. That means that what we are saying tonight is not for us. Somebody gonna pick off of our tree tonight. Our
yeah.
experience, our setback, our comeback, our achievement, even our rejection, our down spiral moment. So, Minister Cleveland, the floor is yours.
Well, look, I came from humble beginnings, and I say that to say I grew up in a couple of villages, and a lot of people don't know that. And I'm glad you give me opportunity to highlight some of these villages because people must know where you come from. The places that shape you, the people that help you to grow, these are village. And some people, you don't get a chance to go back and say thank you to. But some of the values, some of the core values that you maintain and establish in your adulthood, it come from somebody who pull you aside and talk to you and you know really prayed for you and advised you and motivated you, activated some gifts and talents in you, right? So I born in Denham still on the West Coast. I didn't stay long enough there, but I do remember my mom saying that my neighbor's string was buried under a tamarind tree.
Wow.
That means I was born at home.
Mm.
And so I think I had some midwives in the village who really came out and helped her to make sure that I didn't drop on the hard wooden floor in the house or something like that. So that I have all my faculties together. I can hear and see, I can use all my senses. But then we left there and we went to a place called Friendship East Bang Demerara when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And that's where I started my kindergarten education. And then my mom decided to move to West Coast Bobbies, where I had my, you know, common entrance year. And then I went to Georgetown and passed common entrance and then went to Barbies back to go to secondary school. I should have gone into high school, but because for some reason my name was not in the publication, my mom was just transferring me back to the village, number 5. But then when she went to the school before me, they told her, "Why you transferring this boy? He needs to go to Queen's College because he's on the list and blah blah blah." But it was too late. The schools are all filled. And so I had to end up couldn't even get in BHS. So I had to settle for Roswick now secondary school. And it was a pleasure that because I made some good friends in the villages. Number 8, number 11, number 9, Ithaca, Roswick now. So we rode the bus together, made a lot of friends, Indians and black. And so some of my best friends were Indians. And so the upbringing I have is I understand some of the racism issues a little bit in my time in the 70s, but not so bad as in my mama's time. But some of my best friends were from number 11 and those Indian villages, bad settlements in those places. We eat from the same bowl. We share crops. They would bring those, I would give them, you know, peas and coconuts and different things. We barter. So when I hear this kind of stuff happening during this election time, I just feel to myself, you know, just pushing the country backwards because we have to be moving forward in relationships. And so my upbringing was growing up in various villages, not so much a city man. My city life came about when I became an adult. So most of my moldings were from the villages. And so I'm grateful for those mom and pops and uncles and cousins. You'd have to call everybody uncle, auntie, or some name in the villages. So everybody is like a family, if you know what I mean. They're the ones who fashioned me. If one of the men are listening, Overseer Ovid Shaws was one of the young pastors in the village. And he used to have a lot of crusades and church services around, and I used to be there. And so that's some of the moldings that, I had in my upbringing that allowed me to love the Lord and to
So,
aspire to do the right things.
we're gonna come back to the mentor thing because that is one of the things we have to make sure be integrated back in our society. We're
Yeah,
gonna come back to that because we grew up in a time we didn't had the word mentor, but we had it where the umbrella term where they said a village raise a child,
yeah,
right? But we're gonna come back to let these nuggets out there where we understand the need for mentors, that we can have a trajectory of snatching back core values and bringing back young men understanding values and understanding potential and their roles and so on. Councilman, honorary councilman Austin Thompson, my friend, our friend, a great mentor. Tell us about your little journey, because I love what Minister Cleveland talk about this humble beginning, and this season is a season of Christmas, and we are hemming some things tonight, and we know as a son was born, a child was given, which is Jesus, and he had a humble beginning. I recognize there was no great hospital that the president went to that he born that they can say, this hospital is where the Savior was born. He went at a hotel where the dignitary stayed, and they said, you know what, at the dignitary suite, Jesus was born. He born in a manger.
Yes.
Humble beginning. Over to you, Councilman Austin Thompson. Tell us something about your upbringing.
Yes. Greetings to you. Greetings to your listeners, Minister Cleveland. I'm honored to be among you gentlemen this evening, and thank you so much for inviting me onto this platform to have me, just be a part of the conversation. When I was sworn in on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, on December 15th, I had the pleasure of there were about slightly a little bit less than 100 people in the room, and I had the pleasure of delivering my speech after I was sworn in as city councilman for Post 3. And in the very beginning, as I have done for the past 7 months while I was campaigning, I had the dubious honor of informing everyone that I am the first immigrant-born man of African descent, born in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana in South America, representing Guyana and the Caribbean and Latin American region. And it's always a pleasure for me to announce to folks that, yes, I am from Guyana, received my American citizenship in 1981, but I'm a son of the soil of Guyana. And usually when folks say, "Bye, you ain't Guyanese, you live how you life here, you ain't Guyanese," I said, look, let me tell you something. I know more about Guyana than some people who live in Guyana, right? So don't, because they got some Guyanese, you're telling them something, they're like, "Where's that? And what is that?" They're like, "What do you mean, where's you live right there." You born and grew up there. I left Guyana in 77, but I'm saying all that to say, it's an honor to represent our Guyanese nationals. It is honored to be a representative of my birth country here in a political capacity in the United States of America. Many of us leave Guyana and we take up different positions and different responsibilities in our adopted homelands, whether it's Canada, whether it's England, whether it's anywhere in Europe, Australia, because there are Guyanese in Australia as well. I have family in Australia that I have not met, but we converse all the time through WhatsApp chats, or here in the United States, and it's a good thing to let people know that you're from Guyana. Some people are ashamed, they're embarrassed, or I don't know, they feel inferior that to have a conversation, and in that conversation to let people know that you are from another country. It's as if if they let it be known where they're from, then they might be ostracized or not taken seriously or whatever, but I am always proud to let people know that I was born in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And I think during that 7.5-minute speech, I think I mentioned it 3 times because I wanted folks to know, right? I was born in Georgetown, Guyana. I was born in Georgetown Public Hospital and lived in Lodge, 10 Durban Street Lodge, for the first 7 years of my life. So I didn't have the privilege like you guys who spent more years in Guyana, but let me tell you, those 7 years, the first 7 years of my life, I remember so much, right? I remember growing up with my extended cousins, my older sister, going to St. Gabriel's Primary School, South Road School, there in Georgetown, and spending time with extended family in Berbice, in Bartica, in South Ramville, and I said, one of the most memorable times of your childhood. You see these children up here, right? These children up here, when they want toys, when they want things to play with, they got to go to Walmart. They go to Toys R Us. They go to the retail outlets and they purchase all these things. Now you got Amazon. You can just order things off Amazon. In Guyana, we used to build scooter. We used to build go-kart. You used to get the wheels, the wood, and you're building these things, and you got the rope, and you got to steer the go-kart and thing. You had your tire, your stick, you're rolling your tire down the road and you're barefoot. You take off your slippers because you can run fast in your barefoot. And it's funny because I talked to a lot of my older family members and they said, "Bye, you remember all that?" I said, "Of course." Because when we grew up at a time in the 70s, I was born in 69. So from 69 to 77, I lived in Guyana. And I always said, when you're climbing breadfruit tree, you're climbing the dongs tree, your sijum tree, your jamun tree, you're picking, your belly bung up because you're eating all the fruits. Before you could come down from the tree, you done consume so much of the fruits. And then next year, you spend the next 2 days with your belly bung up, right? So, these are childhood memories. And I said, well, what would have happened if I had another 10 years, another 15 years in Guyana, going to Queen's College or Bishop's or, people who have those stories, right? But, growing up in Guyana, people, you have people who are, again, they don't really speak much about their early, and I'm talking specific to Guyanese, they don't speak much of their time in Guyana because they leave Guyana, they come to America, then they become, ingrained in the American culture and everything. So Guyanese, the history in Guyana, the time in Guyana, no longer is important to them, right? So, but for me, and for people like me, you're always going to get the story about me growing up in Guyana for those first 7 years because it's important to me. And wherever I go, I let people know where I'm from. I let people know I speak purposely with an accent. Some people, they spend 44 years in America, they're speaking so perfect, speaking more perfect, better English than the Queen and the King of England and Nah, I want you know, when you hear an accent, where you from, So this way it gives me the opportunity now to let you know where I'm from and to tell you something about Guyana, right? Because not a lot of people, they know Guyana is Jim Jones, right? Let's face it. Oh, you're from Guyana? Oh, Guyana. Yes, that's that place for that man. Yeah, that man. Yeah, but it's not Guyanese he killed. It's Americans that he welcomed to Guyana, and he brought them from California and all over the place in the United States, and they all came to their port, Kaituma, and they built Jonestown, right? But this is all people know about Guyana outside of the Caribbean. I'm talking about. This is all they know about Guyana. You ask them about Jamaica, they talk about the beaches, they talk about, the resorts, so on and so forth. They talked about Puerto Rico. They could tell you so much about Puerto Rico. Guyana, oh, Jim Jones, right?
Yeah. One thing I noticed, Councilman, is that we born at the same hospital.
Yeah.
We should thank the nurses and the doctor that
Yeah,
they
man.
didn't drop us. Also, Minister Cleve, you should thank the nurse and the doctor that they didn't drop you.
Yeah.
Even though it have a sense of humor, I always refer back to the story in the Bible of Mephibosheth, where
Right.
the nurse dropped him and dislocated his hip.
Right.
Right? And we have to thank God that we are whole, our limbs are intact, our hip are in the right place. We weren't dropped by the nurses. Let's
Yeah.
get to the other part of mentorship. Minister Cleveland, would you want to tell us who was your mentor and you are the mentee to them, and how you feel of those now you are mentoring? Let's deal with mentorship that somebody can understand, because it's a clarion call for real mentorship. Because if there's no mentorship, we understand, especially in certain second, certain society and certain pedigree, there is really the runaway train where there is no need now for mentorship. It's like I've lost its value, and because of that, there is a lagging behind. There's a lagging behind in certain pedigree, in certain ethnicity. There's a lagging behind where it's a runaway train, because we grew up in a society where we were taught that the village really raised the child. We didn't have understanding of a mentor. But in our era now, we know where the mentorship is downsized not to the village, it is downsized to a person. Right? So give us an experience of somebody now you can say was your mentor and you are the mentee. And in term now that you are the mentor and some form of results or impact you see those you are your mentee today. Let's put it into perspective, because there's some young man right now or young woman or some group or somewhere, they really want the direction, they really want to understand who can bring stability, who can bring a measure of answer to the solution. And that's just finding a mentor. I believe personally, in every sec of everybody's life, they need a mentor. You need a business mentor, a spiritual mentor, a social mentor. As we need mentors, and not anybody. We'll get to that part of it, an aspect of mentors. Minister Cleve.
Right. That's what I was going to tell you, because if I was to start with a list of mentors, it's going to take a long time, because people mentor me in different walks in my life, different professions, and in different areas. So yeah, because when I was in law enforcement, there was one gentleman who mentored me through law enforcement, and so or Harley Davidson, one of the guys who taught me how to write and how to present evidence and how to deal with people in the community, and how to conduct myself. So yeah, I would start with that, understanding what was mentorship back then, because every other time was just people who just merely talk to you and correct you along as you go. But this particular person would pull you out on a regular basis, look at what you write, and that's what you would consider. People who have that interest in you are the ones you really want to consider as mentor. People not at every once in a while, but who regularly pull you out, pull you aside, and said, look, do it this way, and check to see that you're doing it right and make you accountable. And those are the people I consider are my mentors, who keep you accountable. And so in different walks of my life, I've had people who I would consider my mentors. He was one, and then if you take them in stages, then I can come back on the others. But if I should go down the list, I would say he was one. Ovid Charles was my spiritual mentor. Then when I come to the States, I had Apostle Wedlin Seeley was one of my mentors. Apostle Jason Owen. These are people who keep you on track and check on you and see what you're doing behind, and talk to you on issues and straighten you out. And so I like to see that happening, where also mentorship comes when you're subjective to those people. Their interest in you and how you respond, how you allow them to mentor you. is what it really amounts to. Especially when you're not spending money. Some people spend money for and go get a mentor. The ones that you don't pay money for are the ones who are interested in your walk, in your progress, in your development, and how you receive them is what makes mentorship valuable to both persons. And so I could give a list of people who have really, helped me along in my walk, who I would consider them my mentor. I would consider you my mentor. As young as you might be, younger than I am, some things we talked about, some older folks didn't talk to me about. And to this day, I still remember some of the things you and I shared. And I didn't have to embrace you, a far younger man than I am. But I'm telling you, you spit some wisdom to me, and that I respect you for. And I would put you in that list of mentorship. Yes, Minister Seon Rodney is one of my mentors. In case you didn't know it, you heard it first right here on this program.
Wow. Councilman Honorable Austin Thompson.
Yes, sir. Growing up, I did not have mentors or access to people who were willing to reach out to mentor me, guide me, help mold me. The two gentlemen that come to mind, and if anyone asks me about mentoring, are my two uncles, my dad's brothers, right? First would be my Uncle Aubrey, who I consider my second dad. And he's actually, when my dad and my mom left the States, he's the one in whose care I was left and trusted. And so we moved back and forth between Mackenzie and Georgetown, and he was very attentive, was always, making sure that my schoolwork was done right. When you're young, you're learning your times tables, and you're learning your multiplication tables, and you're learning how to write. And I always remember those days coming up. And even as I grew older, when I left Guyana and he moved up here, he always continued to reach out to me, and he was always somebody I could go to and have conversations with that I couldn't have with my dad. And so you always have those uncles you could go and talk to. You can go and have conversations. Certain conversations you can't have with your father, right? And that's the relationship I had with him, and still have, actually. And I mean, he always has been the kind of person who had that disposition that wasn't judgmental, wasn't harsh, but always have good advice, good words of encouragement, and he was, continues to be someone who plays that role. My other uncle, Reginald, he was the uncle that really introduced me to the Pan-African school of thought. He was the one that introduced me to writings by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, who was a fellow Guyanese, Sheikh Anta Diop, Dr. George G.N. James, Dr. John Henry Clark, Amos Wilson, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. At the time I was coming up, I was 18, 19, coming into my early 20s. He was pursuing his PhD at LSU. And when I went to visit him, he would take me to some classes that, not classes, more workshops that he was attending on Pan-Africanism and Egyptology and the Kemetic sciences. And he is that uncle that actually got me involved in reading works by African historians, and sort of launched me or catapult me on that path to being more in tune with my African self, and I thank him to this day for that. Thank both my uncles, because they both played a significant role in my life in those respective aspects, and these are gentlemen that, again, very humble. They were not harsh. They saw, a young nephew that was searching, that was curious, that that they could have offered guidance, in addition to what their brother was offering. And that's the same thing that I do with my nephews, because I always think back to the way my uncles mentored me and worked along with me, and I always impart that on my nephews. So outside of those two gentlemen, I didn't have like a pastor or a teacher, or I don't know what it is. I mean, I connected more with in school. I connected more with my female teachers. I was part of an upper bound program at Brooklyn College, and they were mentors, but more instructional, because we had classes there. So I had positive influences, but I always look to my uncles, and I still do, because they're the ones that put me on a path to where I am today, and the things that I'm doing today. And I looked at them, and I should mention a third, which is my cousin, who's an attorney, and he was a little bit more academically together than I was, right? And Minister Quinn mentioned being mentored by you, a younger brother. But I always looked to, when I was coming up, I always looked to my younger cousin, because he was on that academic path, finishing college, going to law school at Trinity College in Connecticut. And I used to go up there like almost every other weekend to visit with him. And, just watching the way he did things. He was president of the Black Student Union, and being involved in student leadership. And when I got back on the path of being more focused in my mid-20s, he had already finished all his school. I was about 26, going on 27. And I said, man, I want to do some of the things that he was doing. So I took up student leadership and many of the leadership activities that he did. And that was an influence there. So we can learn from a lot of people. We can learn from families. We can learn from those older than us, those younger than us. We can learn from females, whatever. But, the mentoring is and watching and being guided by my uncles, and watching my younger cousin, I was very encouraged to place myself on a path to success and growing my own personal brand and my professional brand. And I have those gentlemen to thank for.
But let me dissect it, and let's go a little more further, right? I won't put it like this way: there are mentors and there are admirables.
Mm-hmm.
So the admirables are the silent mentors.
Mm-hmm.
But the mentors are the one who are speaking their conversation, their dialogue. And Minister Cleveland said, accountable partners, or an accountable body, or the person you are accountable to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Starting out, I didn't had, I should say, a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Because I grew up with my foster dad and my foster mom. He never really had conversation with me because he really think I got it together.
Mm-hmm.
He is a man of very, very few words.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he get the wife that he got. To be honest, I didn't know what conversation they really normally have, but they had great things going. When they have this conversation, probably when I'm sleeping, I don't know. This dude don't talk at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we never really had this conversation. If something that warrants his attention, he sent me to her. His story is done with. But I had an admiration for two guys in the debating competition at the school I went to, which is Winifred Gasking Memorial Secondary School. Ivor Luke and Sunil Mahabir. These guys were great debaters. And I said, I want to be like these guys. So I was admiring them. So at the end of every debating competition, guess what I do? I go home and debate to the plants, because we had a garden. So that was my platform, and so on. And then I would take my belt and make it like a tie, and you see me, man. So I was admiring them. And then it became a time where I went to the church because of, a young lady and so on. You follow a young lady to the church and get hooked in the church. And then the pastor came to me. I would have said already that even my mentor, he does teach me a thing for 2 weeks and show me into leadership right there and then. So I then Gavin Monroe, I should say, the real mentor. He take me and he spent hours with me and he covered many topics and we spent a lot of time together and he poured in every segment of my life. And then when I went into the sphere of work, then my boss wasn't a boss, he was really a mentor. He taught me you must get a passport, you must get a bank account, and he started, telling me the things that you must have as a young man, and then he lead me down the path of politics. I say that's my mentor. And then really get more into the church, and then you get many pastors came along and mentor me and so on. Add to what is already there, the building block that's there in Guyana and in America. Too much name to call, I should say, mentors, right? So, but it started off for me with an admiring these two guys in the debating competition. They didn't even know that I am admiring them. So we have persons that are admiring us, right? We will call them mentors, but silently, yes, we are mentoring them because they're admiring us. There's some quality about us. There's some, and we don't have to be perfect. This is nothing but perfect. But there's some quality to us that brings that attraction. Probably the way our Minister Cleveland DJ, the way he uses his picture, the way he spin his dub, or the way he do his interlude. Someone want to be like him when he grew up in admiring his style. They may later on come into his 3 yards, where now you can move from admire to mentor. But not all time we will get our admirers to be to mentor them. Same for Councilman Austin Thompson. When I look at one of the presentation, I say, "Oh my God, how you connect politics, you connect business, and you connect your social." And it was funny all four at the same time. I said, "Damn, this guy do all in 10 minutes. I want to get a conversation with him." But after he finished, he got back with his serious face. It's like, man, no, 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 no. Until he came to me. But I admire that moment. And I said, you know what, this is a takeaway for me. And then, he started mentoring me. That the last scholarship award, he allowed me to do what he should be doing, to guide the program along when he attend to something else, because the mentor can trust the mentee. You understand? So it starts with the admiring and then it enter into mentorship. But oftentimes, sometimes the persons that admire us, we may not have them in our 3 yards to mentor them. And sometimes the persons that we admire, we would never have them to mentor us. So it's a reciprocal thing. But growing up, what are one of your setbacks, Minister Cleveland, that you wished, looking where you at now, if that setback wasn't there, what better you could have done now, or could have been now, or could have become?
Well, you had to go there. Listen, I started going to the trade school, and then I was selected by the Congregational Council of Churches to as a candidate to attend university, and I think University is to study biblical studies, because I was a leader in the Congregational Church, a young youth leader at age 14 years old. I used to attend the conferences around the country as a youth leader, and but I got selected for GTI, LATI, and trade school in London. And I really wanted to leave the village, to tell you the truth, because I was like a stranger in the village, even though I was embraced by some. You still was a stranger regardless. And I wanted to leave the village, and so I went to London to trade school. I was going to be an engineer, And then they called me to say you're selected to go study biblical studies, to become a minister with the Congregational Council. And I thought about it, and I'd be like, you know what, I'm already in trade school, and I need to be an engineer, and I turned it down. And I think that was my pivotal moment that caused me to go in different tangent in life. I say that to say because the other person two of us got selected out of maybe 200-300 students, leaders, youth leaders around the country. And she became a minister, she still is today. And I'm a minister, but I'm not functioning in that capacity, as you know, on pulpit, but I do minister otherwise. But I think that's one of the setbacks that when you choose your path, and it takes you in a different tangent. Now, the other one was I got this young lady pregnant back in the 80s. After I went to trade school and they had the retrenchment, so we all had to find our way from Linden to some parts of the country because we couldn't have teachers in the classes because the government wasn't funding Guy Mind work. Teachers had to leave and find work. So I find my way to Georgetown. And my sister was a foreman at a textile mill there, and I got in a job there. I was cutting the grass and cleaning plants and, sweeping the compound. And then I ended up getting in the plant. And then I ended up meeting this young lady, Shelly Ann, and we started our little friendship and love relationship. And then there comes my son, Delvin. And so, guess what? When you check the price for a tub and for diapers and all that, textile milk money couldn't really afford it. So guess what? In 1984, I had to find me a job, a real job that I think was going to help me to fund my son's upbringing. And so that's where I ended up into law enforcement, a place I never really admired as a young man growing up. I want to be in law enforcement or the army. I was supposed to be my mom's lawyer. And so there it is now, a different path because of choices I made. And so I see them as positives though, but I identify them as my roadblocks that took me in a different time that I never really went back to what I should have been. And I have good experiences with them, but I could have been in a better place now had I, considered
See,
some
the
things.
reason why I asked the question, right, Councilman Austin Thompson, sometimes as we deal with admirables now, we're moving from that to mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we mentor people from the place of our strength. And the place of our strength is where their weakness. So they see us that we are so perfect at this place and they can never attain to where we at.
Mm-hmm.
So our mentee are hearing us. You understand? They're
Mm-hmm.
hearing us, but they're not really trying to relate because they are here and we present here.
Mm-hmm.
So here see unattainable. You see what I'm saying? It's like sometimes you get people who not a personal one-on-one with the pastor. They see the pulpit here and they see the pew here. So what happened? They have a stint through church. You understand? Because they see this place is unattainable because you are leading me from your strength. Yes, they never see no weakness. They never see no brokenness. They never
Right.
heard of any brokenness or any weakness. So they see this place as unattainable. So they
Right.
satisfy for right where they're at.
They don't see the imperfections, perhaps.
Yes. So they say, you cannot meet me where I'm at. You see what I'm saying? So I believe, and I'm a firm believer of leading from your weakness. That doesn't take away your strength. We all have an Old Testamental life before we get a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And I need, because they get men that are in prison. They want to know, is hope for me? You come in and talk to me, but you can't identify with me because they see we are all together. They never see or hear you ever had a broken moment. But if we can break the silence with that broken moment, I was there, or I had some miss. I may not be in jail, but I stole $20 growing up. I reap the consequences of stealing that $20. But the main thing, you steal. So you can able to mentor them. It's like I was once rejected. You understand? But sometimes the human being mindset and concept or to society perception that must only present this glory story. Like everybody know I'm a minister, I'm a pastor, but you never see me try to put my title in every situation. I want to meet you where you at. I want to meet you downtrodden. I want to meet you broken. And how I can meet you there if I identify broken with you. You see what I'm saying? And that doesn't take away anything from you. As I come to you, councilman, it's like I tell people, nothing can take away me from being a man child. I already born with a male genitalia. Nothing gonna take away that from me. If I cry, they're not gonna make I turn from a penis to a vagina. If I cry, I still have a penis. So it's good for you to see me cry. But my tears can be strength for someone because I see a grown man cry. It's okay for me to cry. But after those tears, I see strength in him. I can garner strength too. You see what I'm saying? So come someone give us of your experience.
Well, no man is perfect, no matter where we end up, whether as minister or as councilman or as governor or as president of the United States, professor, doctor, lawyer, whatever. No man is perfect. And I've had setbacks in my life. I've had, academically, I've had setbacks. Like I said, I really didn't get started on my consistent academic pathway until I was about 26, 27. But between 18 and 26, I was trying to find myself. I was trying to figure out, where am I going? What am I doing? I moved from New York. First I relocated from Guyana in 77. Lived in New York 15 years. Left New York in 92. Come to Georgia, right? So I started out college at Medgar Evers College, Borough of Manhattan Community College, BMCC, then Medgar Evers College, and I was terribly inconsistent. I'd register for classes and then withdraw. I would register for 2-3 classes and withdraw from 1 or 2 of them and just keep one. I was involved in relationships and hanging out and I wasn't living a life where I was on the streets or anything like that. But my academic career was grossly delayed because I just couldn't mentally get it together. But those setbacks allowed me, and this is where you use your setbacks as lessons, right? Those setbacks allowed me the opportunity to learn lessons. It allowed me the opportunity to mature a little bit more. So this way, when God put me on the path to academic success, I had the maturity now to deal with the stress and the pressures and so on and so forth, right? Because going to college and working full time, and it ain't easy, right? You gotta really be focused. And I was by myself. I was alone. I didn't have mommy and daddy or anything. You have to be focused, right? But from 87, when I graduated from high school, to 96, this is 9 years. Within that 9-year stretch, I really, learned a lot about myself, even though I had the setback of not finishing, because by 26, 27, I should have been done with school, right? To where I am now. I should have been finished with school and started my corporate career. But even though I had a corporate career, I didn't really get on the path where I really wanted to be at that time. But the setbacks allowed me the opportunity to learn more about myself. It allowed me to know what my pressure points are or were, right? My pain points, what I could tolerate, what I couldn't tolerate, so on and so forth, right? So, there were setbacks as far as me not starting college at the traditional age of 17, 18, but yet still they offered me lessons that from which I learned about myself. And I use now, even in my later age, to go back now and mentor the young people, right? And I use those experiences now to infuse the type of talking points and discussions that young people need. That look at me. I wasn't perfect at 18, 19. I wasn't. I really wasn't. You know, I was running around with girls. You know, I was into partying. I was DJing at that time. I was into club life. You know, but what really kept me focused was that I had those family members who kept telling me, "Don't worry, boy. Don't worry. One day you're gonna get yourself together. Don't worry. One day you're gonna do this. One day you're gonna do that." And I kept that in the back of my head, you know. So this is why I tell these parents, you know, don't lose patience with your children. Keep instilling positive words in them. Keep instilling motivational words in them. Trust me, they will get it. They may not be. Not everybody's ready for academic success at 17, 18, 19. Some of us are delayed because, hey, we're trying to figure out ourselves. We're trying to find ourselves, what we like, what we don't like. You know, the world is changing and all these things are impacting us, whether negatively or positively. There's a lot going on at that tender age when you're going from adolescence to young adulthood. It's a transitioning point. It's an evolutionary process. So there's a lot of things that are going on. So, you know, I look at those, you know, setbacks as lessons learned, opportunities for growth. I look back at them and I share these with young men who are at that age now, because I do a lot of mentoring in the high schools. You know, I'm asked to come into different high schools here in Gwinnett and to speak to young people. I have a young Hispanic men that I mentor who are between 14 and 18, and I instilled in them what I learned, what I had to deal with, those setbacks that delayed my academic pathway, you know, and using those lessons I learned, what I learned about myself, what I did in order to put myself on a successful path. Because you don't go from not knowing what you want in life and not knowing who you are to being serious about your academic success. You know, it's not like one day you just wake up, you get it. No, you got certain processes you go through, right? And that puts you on that path, right? For me, it was religion. You know, for me, it was my uncle who introduced me to the African school of thought, learning about myself as an African man, right? And who I am, who my ancestors were, you know, what their contributions were to this world. And realizing, wow, I am from them, therefore I can be like them, you know? Going from not even respecting math and science, I took just the general math to get out of high school, to getting a degree in electronic engineering, right? And I did that, and I pursued that, and pursued everything after, because I learned about myself. I learned about what my ancestors did. You know, we are taught in America, we're taught that history begins on the plantation. History of Black people begin on the plantation. All of a sudden, we woke up and we're all picking cotton. You know, that's ground zero for Black history in America. What they don't teach you is everything that preceded the interaction with the European, right? That we were scientists, we were the creators of medicine, creators of science and mathematics, language, geology, astronomy. Those are the things that we don't learn, you know? So once I realized, oh, wow, this was the history of Black people, this was the history of African people, this is the history of my ancestors. The Greeks and the Europeans came to Africa to learn from us. And that's what I learned. So the setbacks I had at 17 and 18, there were academic setbacks. And I had to learn all these things about myself, my history, my ancestors, and what my people did in order to make sure that once I got on that path, and this was God's intervening in my life, saying, I'm going to put these people before you. I'm going to put this information before you because I know where you're going to be. So I need you to get a hold of this process, so this way it can prepare you for where you're going to be. So, those are the setbacks that I had, and those were my lessons that I learned from them, and I use that now to fuel my mentoring of young people.
So I would say I had a lot of failures too, tremendously a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But my failures weren't final. Listening to Minister Cleveland, Harley Quinn, aka DJ Quinn, Councilman Austin Thompson, and yourself, and myself, sorry. We all has failed. We all had missing and shock expectations because we came from somewhere. We came from our parents, and they had expectations of us. And loved ones also, aunts, uncle, cousins, have expectation of us. And we all have shock expectations because we failed. For failure is not final. Our feedback from our failure has caused us to be on the path where we are right now. Someone is listening to us tonight. Right now, they at the juncture of the failure. It's not your final. Regardless what has called you to fail or where you at in your failure, it's not final tonight. The feedback from your failure will put you back on the path to become successful. So I'm here to let you know that you're not at the final stop in your life. You're not at a dead end zone. It's not over until you say it's over. These three men that you're seeing on your TV screen right now, on your computer screen, on the screen of your phone, are men that failed, men that flawed. We give shock expectations. We had rejection. We had misfortune. We had where we didn't have what it need to get us to where we want to be at a point in time in our lives. But feedback has caused us to be where we are. We refuse to settle for our failures to really be final. With that being said, I want to thank you, Minister Cleveland Harley Quinn, aka DJ Quinn, for this moment of giving us of your precious time. Because time is a currency with no exchange. The time you has given to this platform tonight, you will never get it back in life. But I know it's an investment you have made into lives that will listen to this program not only tonight but thereafter. Or someone will give this program to someone in a time of their crisis, in a time of their situation. This podcast tonight will be a reference points, councilman, because they have learned something. This podcast will be a tower of strength for someone in their weak moment. This podcast will help someone to understand. DJ Quinn had failure. I thought he was perfect. Councilman Austin Thompson, I thought he had it right. He grew up bougie. He had it all. He grew up with the nut butter and all these great things. He had the engineers in his family, but recognized, no, it's not. Looking at Minister Seon, I thought, hey, this man got it. No. I thought I grew up in poverty until I come to the United States of America. And I wouldn't say I grew up in poverty, I grew up less fortunate. So wherever you are listening to us, in the conclusion of this podcast, probably right now in a sex slave house, trapped, cuffed to a bed, to a table, to a chair, cannot move, cannot defend yourself. It's not final for you. Probably you're part of a drug ring and you want to get out, and you think you don't have what it takes to get out. It's not final for you. You're thinking to commit suicide tonight because of the pressures of life. It's not final for you. You're going through depression. I want to let you know it's not final for you. Wherever you are right now, lost your job, don't have money in your pocket, for a bus fare, for a train ride, it's not final for you. Wherever you find yourself, someone walked that road before. Someone had that journey before. And you know the shock expectation? They didn't give in because it's not final. As they overcome, you can overcome also. As all of us on this thread tonight overcome, someone can overcome. That's why we thank our mentors, and we are great mentees. And for those who were mentoring, I would like you to understand, be the mentee to us that make us proud. Come back with strength, come back with courage, come back with resilience, and you can be on a pathway for a great trajectory. Thanks once again, Minister Cleveland, Harley Quinn, aka DJ Quinn. Thanks, Honorable Councilman Austin Thompson, for sowing into us tonight. Councilman, tonight when you're sown to this podcast, you will never get back this time in your life. It's gone. It have no exchange. But if it's one soul connected tonight, it's many souls you're connected to. It's not about the forest, but it's about that one tree. That great pruning, that great work for that one tree will attract the eyes of many than a forest with no sight for attraction. So tonight, we have made an inroad and made an impact in the life of someone within Essequibo, Demawara, Berbice, Guyana, South America, North America, Latin America, continent of Asia and Africa. Despite of ethnicity, despite of color, despite of creed, we have met someone in the penthouse. We have met someone under the bridge. Tonight, once again, thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas and a prosperous and productive New Year. Once again, thank you and God bless you.